everybody, it's author Sandra Wilson here in the Kindness Kangaroo Library, and this is our Friday feature. And as we do every Friday, we feature a new children's book to read here in the Kindness Kangaroo Library by me, Kindness Kangaroo, also known as author Sandra Wilson. So I'm really excited to share this week's book. I will I'm trying to make sure I honor various independent authors all throughout our area. And this is a person that I met a few years ago at a writing festival. And I didn't necessarily know I met her right away, but she sent me a picture of her with Kindness Kangaroo. So I know that we did meet, and I'm so glad that we connected, and she has shared her book with us. So today we're going to read The Wish Carvers, and that book is by Kathleen Gauer, and the illustrator is Sari Richter, and it's a beautiful story. It's a beautiful drawings, and I think you're really going to like it. As always, after our Friday feature, we will have an activity to do, to have something that you could do a little bit later today even, and carry this story out throughout your day. So make sure you follow us on author Sandra Wilson Facebook page. Every Friday we have a new book to read, and you'll be able to see that in the event tab. And some of our stories will be up on Facebook as well, and our Kindness Kangaroo Project YouTube channel. Okay, so today's story then is The Wish Carvers. And I will post under this video a link so that you can see where you can get the book for yourself, because it's a great story to have on your bookshelf. And this author has more than one book, and so we'll maybe be featuring another book of hers in one of our other Friday features. Day after day, week after week, month after month, Faye and her brother Eddie carved and painted. They sold their carvings at the village market every Saturday. The two earned enough to buy food to eat, clothes to wear, and more paint for their carvings. But sometimes all that work was exhausting. Every day they complained about the same things. "My hands are so sore from all this carving," Faye grumbled. "I wish I could take a long rest." "All my clothes are covered in paint," Eddie whined. "I wish I had something nicer to wear." One Saturday afternoon, while strolling home from the market, Faye and Eddie discovered an old carving knife by the roadside. When they brought it back to the cabin, they spotted some words carved on the handle. Faye read them out loud. "What's carved with me will come to be." "Do you suppose that's true?" Eddie asked. "Let's find out," Faye said. She carved a miniature wooden pot of gold. Eddie painted it, and they waited. Nothing happened. Then Eddie read the words on the knife out loud. "What's carved with me will come to be." Ever so slowly, the wooden pot of gold turned into a real life-size pot of gold. "It worked," Faye shouted. "We can carve anything we wish for." "Woohoo!" Eddie explained. "Let's try something bigger." Faye scratched her head. "I know, I'll carve us living in a large stone cottage. Then you can paint it." As Faye carved and Eddie painted, they chanted, "What's carved with me will come to be." By sundown, they had crafted their cottage. It was so perfect, Faye was positive she saw a light flicker in one of its windows. She quickly set the carving by their bedroom door and hopped into bed. The next morning, Faye and Eddie awoke to find themselves inside a huge stone cottage. "Yippee!" Eddie squealed. "The magic worked!" But when Faye and Eddie crawled out of bed, they discovered their pot of gold had disappeared. And there was more work to do than ever. There was more house to be cleaned, more garden to tend, and more firewood to be chopped. Soon Faye's hands were sorer than ever, and Eddie's clothes were dirtier than ever. "This place is much too big," Eddie moaned. "How can we ever keep up with all this work?" Faye said. I know all Carvers living as king and queen in a lovely fairy tale castle with castle helpers to do all this extra work for us. Good idea, Eddie said. At least we won't have to work so hard. Again, Fay carved away, Eddie painted, and together they chanted, "What's carved will meet with me will come to be." By day's end, they had created their castle. It was so realistic, Fay was convinced she saw one of its towers sparkle. She stood the carving up against the bedroom door and climbed into bed. Just before sunrise, clatter, clatter, swish, swish, chop, chop. Fay and Eddie awoke to find themselves inside a giant fairy tale castle with many castle helpers cleaning, guarding, and chopping firewood. Sounds like our castle helpers are already busy, Fay said. I best we get to work too, Eddie said. Fay and Eddie were barely out of bed and dressed when tourists started lining up to tour their beautiful castle. How will we ever cope with all these people? Eddie asked. We're used to such a peaceful life, and now we'll have no time to carve and paint, Fay grumbled. And then, chatter, chatter, squish, squish, slop, slop. Tourists began to pour in by the hundreds. Muddy footprints covered the floors. Pictures were knocked off the walls. And when the tourists left, they left all their trash behind. This castle is a royal mess, Fay groaned. Now even our castle helpers are exhausted and grumbling about all the hard work. I wish we still lived in our tiny log cabin, Eddie whined. Fay said. I have an idea. One more time, Fay carved away, Eddie painted, and together they chanted. Did everybody help? What's carved with me will come to be. That evening, Fay placed the freshly painted log cabin by their bedroom door. Then she tossed the magic knife out the window and slid into bed. Early the next morning, Fay and Eddie awoke to find themselves back inside their tiny log cabin. Fortunately, they still had the money from selling their carvings at the village market. It was enough to buy food to eat, clothes to wear, and more paint for their carvings. I can't wait to get back to work, Fay said. She reached for her trusty old carving knife. Eddie pulled on his comfy old painting clothes. I can't wait to get started. Then he scurried off to fetch his brushes and paint. And that's the end of the story. Isn't that a great story about appreciating what we have and the problems that a wish might actually create? Oh my goodness, I don't know what I would do if all that happened to me. I definitely would want to have my old little cabin back again. And I think it's so important to know that we appreciate what we have rather than wishing for something that we don't have, because we never know how different that really would be and what that's really what we wanted after all. So the wish carvers brought in some magic, and so our activity today is a little bit of magic, but it's a little bit of craft magic. So what I want you to do is get yourself some paper, a little bit of paint. I have 3 nice little colors here. A little bit of paint. Doesn't have to be much. And what we're going to do is we're going to make a magic painting. So I want you to take your paper and I want you to fold it in half. Put a nice little crease down the middle. See, now it's almost like a little book in itself. But then we're going to open it up again. And on that fold that we've just created, we're going to put little dots of paint. So we're just going to take a little bit, and don't put too much, otherwise it's going to be a giant, giant mess. And I'm sure that in your castle, you don't have a bunch of castle workers to help you clean up all that mess. So in order to save yourself all that extra work, don't use too much paint. So we're just going to put a little dab of paint in the middle of our fold. I'm going to show you that. I'm just adding a little bit of blue. So I have blue, yellow, and red, but you can use any colors you want. And you'll notice when you use the blue, yellow, and red, it'll change colors too when they mix together. So you see on the fold, we have little drops of paint. Not very much. And then we're going to fold the paper together again. And you're going to gently this time run your finger down the crease. And again, be careful to get too close to the edges or your paint's going to come out. And then what I want you to do is I want you to take this and push your fingers up from the crease all the way up your picture and turn it around and do the same thing. And what you're doing is you're spreading that paint that's in there. And we just do that. We move it around a little bit all along the crease. Make sure you do both sides so that when you open it, you'll have a magic picture. So then you open it, and don't wait too long because you don't want it to dry. And then it creates a magic picture. Now what you do, it's not really a magic picture right now. It just looks like a bunch of paint drops that have been smeared, right? You see that? Okay, I'm trying not to make it drip, so I don't want to hold it straight up. So then what happens is you just lay this down and let it dry. And then you can take a marker or a crayon and then you draw your picture. So my magic picture became a beautiful butterfly. And so you see that I drew in a little face and the outline of its wings. I drew his body in there and his antennae in there. So my magic picture went from little blobs of paint to a beautiful butterfly. So that's your magic picture that you can create just like the wish carvers created some magic with their carvings. Okay, I hope you all enjoyed the story. Again, it's The Wish Carvers by Kathleen Gauer, and I'm going to post underneath where you can find the book as well. And hopefully we'll have some of Kathleen's other books later in our Friday features. Remember to follow author Sandra Wilson on Facebook and join us every Friday for our featured story. All right, everybody, have a good day.